Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. It's so lovely to have you lovely people here. Today, I begin the series called 51 Stories of Emotional Wellbeing with Emotional Ability Resources. So let me welcome my very first guest, Ankurita Pathak, who's a writer, an occasional poet, and a TEDx speaker, a certified life coach, as well as a seasoned communication professional. She is a joint director with FICCI, and she was born in a quaint little town of Guwahati. Assam, sorry. So tell me something, Ankurita. How is it that you are the woman who you are today?
Thank you, first of all, Pragati, for inviting me to your channel. And I'm really very excited to do this talk with you. And this is one of the subject which you have taken up, and I have been following you on LinkedIn and all your platforms. An amazing job that you're doing. And I think I'm privileged to be here with you. And talking about who I am, where I am, I have to talk about where I was born. So this is a quaint little town, as you mentioned. It's in Upper Assam. It's a place called Golaghat. It's a small town, but it's one of the cleanest town in Assam, right? So I was born there. My both my parents are academicians. Right now, they are retired college professors, basically. So I was born in a family of academicians. So first priority was, getting into studies, doing good in school, and this kind of pressure was there. But deep within me, I there was a brat, you know trying to escape from all of this. But yeah, I was a good student, considerably good student. And my life as an individual actually began when I started my life in the hostel. So after my boards, I came out to Guwahati, and I started my college life. In Assam, we have 11th, 12th in college as well. So we started our college life with 11th. So we call it higher secondary, first year and second year. So that's where the life began without the guidance, or probably, I was more in a protective, secured environment with my parents. So when I came out to the hostel, that was like a preparation for a bigger world. So life in independent manner actually began from there. I was in Cotton College. I don't know if you've heard of Cotton College. Cotton College is called the Center of Excellence in Northeast. It's one of the best colleges in Northeast. And life in Cotton College was actually, it's like a prep for the big world. We started taking independent decisions. We started staying in a hostel, in a room where there were 6 girls, different. That's where I think our ability to adapt and our resilience was built there. Because we started adapting to different circumstances, doing everything by ourselves, suddenly out of the house, making your bed, getting ready, all of a sudden you are thrust into that world where you are supposed to take decisions. So I think my hostel life gave me that independence, that gave me that mental strength, to adapt to different situations. And I owe a lot of who I am and what I am today to my not just my parents, but my hostel life as well. My parents are strict academicians, but they are very liberal as parents. And the best thing, I think, what they allowed me is to learn from my own mistakes. So they held me, they handholded me, but uh, in the long run, I realized that they've given me a kind of freedom, which allowed me to take my own decisions, which allowed me to fail, which allowed me to rise from where I fell. And yeah, completely, taking responsibility and being accountable for your own life.
I love this. This is a very interesting juncture for me. I want you to tell me about some of the failures and these mistakes, as you call it, and what emotional ability resources did you use at that time to get out of it?
Life with a lot of expectations from the external environment makes you a little bit underconfident at times, because you are practically being judged at every point of time, and you are questioned for what your decisions are, what your actions are. So there was not much of a complication in my life. I Both my parents were taking care of me. I had a younger brother, so we had a happy, protected, simple life. Coming from academics background, my parents had given me that access to all resources that could probably build my mental strength in terms of reading books or magazines, or not just studies. They had put me into different extracurricular things. And failure, first failure, I wouldn't say it as a failure, but when I gave my boards, and people, they expected me, not just my family, my extended family, my neighbors, they thought probably I should be in our boards in Assam. We have something called um, stand is the toppers of the state, and star marks are people who get above 85, 80 or 85, I've forgotten, it's like long bag, and none of this matter as of now. But at that point of time, all these were very, very critical part of your growing up. People will start asking, oh, iska number aaya, top mein aaya, top mein aaya, all that pressure. And now if I look back, none of this matters. But at that point of time, these are important factors. And deep down, there was a little bit of fear of being uh, judged, that this person did not do as per the expectations of the family or the society. These are like small things. Now if I look back, these are smaller things, but at that point of time, these were like mental traumas. So
Actually, I hear you, because as you mentioned, while your parents' support, from where I hear, was a very huge emotional ability resource, you felt my parents were
absolutely,
there.
absolutely.
But at the same time, parental expectation or societal expectation that she is the daughter of two academicians. So she's going to do really, really well, like the bar was set very high, very early in your life. So and very rightly you've pointed out, now onwards in your journey, grades do not matter, and not as much as it seemed to at that point, but at that time there was so
Those
much.
grades would probably open certain doorways, but it was
Yes,
not the entire house. You had
yes,
to build a
yes,
house with different abilities. This was just a doorway to something, which is
exactly.
important, but not as important to break or make you. My brother, my younger brother, this I would like to mention. My younger brother, he's 4 years younger to me. He was the smarter of the lot. Okay. So I was the good daughter, and my brother would be like, he would never set that expectations. 30 marks, I will sit for exams, I'll write for 30 marks, I'll get 30 marks, I'll get 30%, and I will have, nobody will have any expectations. So people did not have any expectation. He did not have to fight those struggles. He said that I am not setting any bar for myself. You do whatever you want, I'll be here. And there was no expectations from him, but in his boards, he came out with an extraordinary result, and he was the hero. For me. And that whole if there's an exam of 100 marks, somebody is getting 99 and I'm getting 98, even that was a competition for us at that point of time. Now it looks funny when I look back at all those things, but these are small things. And now that I have a son who's 10-year old, and I feel from my own experiences, I don't set all these expectations from him. I want him to do good, but doing good does not mean he gets A's or A pluses in everything. I allow him to also make mistakes. I allow him to face failures, face challenges, and I want him to be a strong individual. I think your achievements will not be as important for you to grow as a person. The challenges or the failures would be more experiential, and this will give you more
Mhm.
knowledge about how to face life. Basically,
Yes.
knowledge, I mean that whole strength, that whole foundation that will be created, I think it is more through failures than through
So
achievements,
I
because you
like
take
this
your achievements
approach.
for granted.
Yes, I like this approach. Life is more about experiential learning than really a set of facts, and whether it's
Yes.
grades, whether it's performance, it's about our own individual journey. So I kind of like this, a lot of times our emotional well-being I've seen gets depleted in my practice, and when people reach out to me or hear me at talks, is because there's always someone else they are comparing to. Like you rightly pointed out, 99 and 98, the percentile difference may be negligible, but it makes us feel as though the world has crashed on our shoulders if we are in that rat
Some
race.
point of time, you would not want to go out of the house because the neighbor will ask you that, oh, what are the marks that you got? What did the other person get? Why did you get less than that person? So all these comparisons. And now, as I said, if I look back, these are like nothing. But then at that point of time, it created a lot of, uh, I mean, it mattered a lot, you know.
See,
And then
because
again, you know,
what you are saying,
I remember in
society
my
creates,
11th class.
sorry,
Yes,
yeah,
go
uh,
ahead. Sorry.
society creates a lot of pressure on us, like you rightly said, like for the neighborhood auntie, how did it matter whether you got a 98 or a 99 or a 60 for that matter? You are where you are. So I think this is a very pertinent point that you have raised, that sometimes we are very insensitive to children and we don't realize it. In the name of inquiring about them or just showing our interest towards them, we really bring them
Sometimes
down.
as parents also we make that mistake, you know.
Mhm,
Sometimes we even unintentionally we get into that kind of a race that, oh, that somebody else's son is doing better than my son, or somebody else's daughter is doing better. But we don't realize that in the process the small questions that we ask, are usko kitna mila,
mhm,
tumhe kyun itna kam mila, you know,
mhm,
unintentionally you hamper that mental growth of the child, or you create a problem in that sensitivity within the child. You know, we don't realize that, you know, that happens. That's what I was coming to in my 11th class when I came out to the hostel.
mhm,
And as I said, I there was a brat within me trapped. You know, I wanted to experiment, from bunking classes to, you know, breaking hostel rules, and I wanted to do all of those. So I got an opportunity, and I knew my limits. I knew what to do, where to go, and when to come back. But then, nonetheless, I wanted to do some experiments. So my results in my when I was in 11th, my final results of 11th, I didn't even get first division, I guess, you know. And that was like a whole, um, you know, barrage of troubles that came on me, that, you know, this girl has gone out to the hostel, ये तो बिगड़ गई, इसको तो you know, घर से निकली और ये घर से निकल ही गई, you know, kind of a thing. And not just parents. You probably could explain to your parents that it's okay, you know, there's one more year, I'll try and do better. But when people started talking, the peers, the parents, neighbors, you know, relatives, and all of this, you know, mentally it affects, it hurts at times. So this, then I now I realize that all these probably factors added to your mental strength in some way or the other. You know, facing all these problems and emoting what you how you want to react to it is your own choice. But staying there, you know, if you make that choice of staying in that situation and not letting go all of this, then probably that's a phase of crisis for you. And many of us, we don't realize that thin line of demarcation of holding on to those things or letting go. You know, past experiences matter, but also living in the past will not help you move ahead in your present. That's what I think.
nice. So tell me, I think it's really pertinent, the way you've spoken about a young adolescent's mindset or a young adult's mindset, how porous it is. So as adults or as people in the neighborhood or the community, I think we all have that social responsibility to at least not bring another down. We may not be able to uplift another with our words, but just for me, that empathetic listening or just lifting another up with unpositive regard, is the need of the hour. The reason why most of us have struggled in the last 2 years, and especially COVID times, is because a lot of times we never had anyone to communicate with. So, whether good communication, bad communication, man is a social animal. So, when we are isolated from others, we just do not thrive. Yet, bad communication, as you're very rightly showing, depletes us and we don't know how. It makes us feel lesser than ourselves, and we are left in that constant zone of self doubt. So, tell me one thing, was there any moment in time in the past 2 years where you doubted yourself or where you felt that your mental health needed to be taken care of in an extra manner than you are used to?
Pragati, yes, very, very pertinent question that you've asked. That last 21 or probably 22 months, our lives have completely changed. You know, before answering your question, I just want to talk something about my past, which I'll connect with the present. And I just want to say that when now we are in a different kind of a situation, different world. We have evolved as people, and what I was talking about are very trivial things, very small little incidents which are not like big sob stories. These are not like big challenges that you have faced, or but all of this have added to your mental strength. Probably at that point of time, the support of my parents or some of my friends in the hostel, all of this, cumulatively, it helped me grow to where I am. So that whole phase, and now that in the last 2 years, probably when we had completely different life, suddenly your life transformed and took a U-turn, that past and this present, how much strength you've built in that your youth or your younger days is how you have built yourself as a person now. So for me, in the 20 months, I there were times where I used to feel very low. Especially, I'm a very very outgoing extrovert person who loves meeting friends. Every week I slog from Monday to Friday, and Saturday Sunday I'm like firm believer on weekend concept, that I need to rest, rejuvenate, talk to my friends, go out with them, be with family, spend time with the son. I don't like to work on weekends. So that was very difficult. Suddenly I was confined within the four walls of the house. And Pragati, I don't like doing kitchen work. I don't like cooking. I don't enjoy all of that. And suddenly I had to do everything. But there was a choice that whether you want to get stuck in all of these problems and not look beyond it, or try and find little solutions inside the four walls of the house, which could probably work uh, on for the betterment of your mental health, because you had no choice. So you had to work within the given resources. I don't like connecting with people on Zoom, but that was the only solution at that point of time. So I made it a point to connect with people through Zoom, through WhatsApp calls, through video calls with parents. Or then I start thinking that probably it is for the good. All friends, I'm not able to meet people who are outside Delhi or somewhere sitting in the US or Germany or anywhere for that matter. You connected, you made a conscious effort to connect with them. And at one point of time, I was so, I started thinking that, the world is going to end. And I remember last year, in 2020, June 21st, the world was apparently coming to an end, and everyone was worried what's happening today. The world is, I said, like, okay, TK, if the world is also coming to an end, let me die dressed well. I don't want to die in my pajamas, so I don't want to die looking bad. So I dressed up in the house. My husband was asking me, where are you going? I said, to the balcony. I'll take some good pictures, and if I die today, it's okay. I'll die in good clothes. I don't want to be found in night suit, because we're practically living in night suits. So these are like small things that probably added to my joy. After an hour or so, I'll come and sit, I'll again start worrying, and then I'll say, okay, let me divert my mind. And I tried cooking different dishes, and I probably made some seven cakes in those months. And out of those seven, there was only one edible cake. But it's okay. Every week I did some disaster, something. And then one fine night in the evening, I had nothing to do, and I was really feeling very very disturbed. And talking to friends, talking to parents was not helping. There was this some sinking feeling. These are feelings you can't explain, but they were there. And I had a bottle of paint, a tin of paint. I said, like, let me use it. I took out a brush, and I don't know P of painting. Okay. I don't know anything about art. So I had nothing to paint. I went and painted the doors, the grills, and at 12 o'clock I was having coffee, and I was like painting everything, and I was fine, and I was happy. I slept happy. In the morning I saw that okay, I did some disasters, because dripping paint all in the balcony, all outside the door. But it's okay. But these are like little things. You'll see that these are weird. Sometimes you find it stupid, but this helps you to connect with yourself through doing something which temporarily also gives you some kind of a relief. you know and I feel that being resilient, it's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, for muscles, you create your muscles, you use them, and then you grow and you strengthen them. I think the more we use our mental muscles, not really doing something meaningful all the time, but you can do anything and you use your mental muscles positively, probably your resilience grows, your adaptability grows, your mental strength grows, your emotional well-being is strengthened. All of these are very stupid things if you see, but this helps. It has helped me. So those months I realized that I started loving staying indoors at some point of time, because you had no choice. You had to fall in love with what you had. So whatever the options were within the four walls, I tried to explore bit by bit. And some things I never noticed. Okay, there were pigeons around. I used to only hear the sounds, and those months I was like literally talking to them. There were crows in the balcony. I used to sit and talk with them. And there was this crow, my son named him Ka, him or her, I don't know, Ka. So we used to talk to those. Those are like very, very stupid things. But that's what it was. That's how we utilized our time. That's how we kept ourselves busy. That's how we kept ourselves engaged. So whatever resources you have, make the best use of it. I think that's the only solution to stay positive and emotionally charged. And it's natural that your battery is low at times, like our phones. But again, immediately when we look at our phones, what do? We just go and plug it, and that's how we should do to ourselves also. Whenever you feel low, go and charge yourself up in some way, in whatever way you like. Not the usual things if it doesn't work at times. For me, I love reading books, but at that point of time I was not able to concentrate on reading any books. I was trying to read my childhood favorites like Famous Five and Nancy Drews also. I tried reading books like Sapiens also, but I was not. Those are two contradictory kind of literature, but then I couldn't focus on either. So I did things which were usually not in my to-do list, but then keeping yourself engaged, keeping yourself positively engaged was the only solution at that point of time.
I think that was beautifully expressed. You've spoken about this concept of learned optimism. And, now the way forward, the reason why I felt the need to do this series of stories is because, real people, we develop resources and we are not even aware of it. We don't pat ourselves on the back because, like you rightly said, we are very outward focused when it comes to getting any kind of validation, but we don't pat ourselves on our back. So, what I hear when I listen to you is how you have used the concept of learned optimism. And we have Martin Seligman, who always talks about, being positive, and his positive psychology is gaining grounds all over the world. So, I'm so happy to hear the context being applied by you, perhaps not in the technical jargon way that usually psychologists talk about or a lot of talks talk about, but I like this concept of real emotional ability resources that you found within yourself. And very rightly, like you pointed out, when we are plagued by fear now, whatever our resources, like let's say reading, you are not able to use your current resources. So at that time, you have to do something completely out of the box. I loved your story about painting the grills. Most of the time, we always judge ourselves that, am I a good painter? What if the paint drips? Who's going to clean up later on? What's the purpose of this activity? But really doing something for the sheer joy of it is something which builds up our emotional strength. So I really felt that through these stories, real people have so many beautiful resources to share about. And often we always look for gyan from a so-called learned person. Of course, it works. I'm not saying it doesn't. And there are times where we need help and that safe space of therapy to vent out and to figure out where our life is going. But otherwise, if like we brush our teeth daily, if we start doing these little things, we are able to manage ourselves. We can feel the fear, but we can do things anyway. Viktor Frankl has spoken about it in his book. If you talk about the book Man's Search for Meaning, for me, what I have seen over the years is when you have found a sense of meaning in whatever you do, like what I hear you when I listen to you is you found meaning in your day to day living. You found little ways to communicate since communication was so
Share one more story here, Pragati.
important.
Yeah,
Yes, I will
remembered.
just finish off and hand it
Yeah.
over to you. You communicated with whoever was available. You didn't judge. whether the person is human, you communicated, and in the bargain, you've passed on such a beautiful message to your son also. Communicate with all living beings, don't judge. So thank you so much for sharing that. And over to you, Anukrita, again.
I just want to, I remembered something which I wanted to share with you after you have talked about the positive thinking and the optimism and, using the resources. All of this, I completely resonate. So what I love writing also. Okay.
Mhm,
So I used to write randomly and I started writing quite young, because both
mhm,
my parents were academicians and they used to encourage me to write. My dad, he gave me a journal, a dictionary, and he used to tell me write words, learn new words, make sentences, write poetry, and he used to send all those poetry to newspapers and all of that. So those were little habits that I formed, but because after I started working, life became very hectic. You basically you have when you work, you get mentally so drained, and there's a different kind of fatigue that takes over, and you're not really in the position to do things probably which you want also. So I write in between. Sometimes those are very random writings, okay, but during those time when you had a little bit more time for yourself, and suddenly at night I'll feel that okay, something has come to my head. I'll keep writing and I'll keep it in my, probably in my phone's notebook or in a journal or something. So in 2020, later in the year, and we had a substantial amount of writing that was stored in the notebooks of the phone or uh, the journal. So my brother, he's a photographer by passion and he's an engineer by profession. So he loves clicking different pictures. So we thought that let's, now that we have a little bit extra time and now that we have some resources, let's compile a book out of it. Just the sheer um, joy of collecting it. It was like an album for ourselves. We did not have any commercial intention that we will sell books and we will become writers or something. No, we just wanted to collect our thoughts, our passion, and it's like passion meeting a purpose. So we came out with this coffee table book called Black Coffee and Metamorphosis. And Pragati, that was a story of real metamorphosis. Okay. So this book has three chapters, and the first chapter is like in black and white. So this is the phase in the younger days when our everything was either black and white. There was no gray, little complications in life. But we were still trying to grapple through little things and maneuver our life, thinking those are big problems. But at that point of time, small things were bigger problems for us. Only now that we think that those are like, now there are bigger things to worry about. And the second chapter is like a mix of black and white and color,
mhm,
like the way we pass on from our young days, like those 20s to 30, 35, that whole transition where you see simplicity also in life, complications also in life, a little mix. So the whole book is like a journey in, it's not just my journey or my brother's journey. Everybody can identify with it because this is like everyone's journey. And the whole metamorphosis process, from that um, chrysalis to a butterfly. That's what the book is. We've titled the book as Black Coffee and Metamorphosis. Black coffee is nothing because I am a coffee addict, so just about that. And metamorphosis is the process. And the last chapter, uh, probably the evolution of a human being into a person, thinking, feeling, um, individual who's able to face life as it is,
mhm,
knowing where to hold on and knowing where to let go. So that last chapter is very colorful and very very positive. So that book is a result of all those months where we were confined, and so things like reading I could not concentrate, but at suddenly in the middle of the night I'll get some thought and let me write. And all this when we brought into a structured form in the book. Now when the book is in my hand, and the book got a good response because of the photos of Northeast. It's a coffee table book, so people like to keep it in their living rooms, and we got orders from hotels, homestays, and all of that. We did not expect all of this, but the sheer joy of creating something positive out of the times, probably many of us would have lost that sheen in life, that positivity in life. It was happening to a lot of people, but we thought that that time was quite productive. No, it depends on how you utilize that time, right? So I just thought this story, I forgot to mention about this when you asked that question about last 2 years, but suddenly I remembered that this is one of the fruit of love and labor and all those times that COVID gave us. This was one of the high points of that those months. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much. And I think it's really, really inspiring where, in spite of being plagued by self doubt, by isolation, and not having things function the way you want them to, you manage to get, something to substantiate your being. And I love the story of how you feel that you have metamorphosized into somebody who sees color everywhere. And from where I sit, I actually see it resonate in all attitudes of your life, whether it's with painting, talking to the birds, writing a book, or just trying to bake cakes, even when you know that that's not the best skill that you have to offer. So I really feel that, it's in the most uncomfortable zones that we are pushed to, where our true growth or our metamorphosis lies. Because why we struggle where we struggle is because we don't use our full potential. And most of the time, we are very, very limited about who we are. We box ourselves. We are like, okay, I am so and so. This is what I like to do. This is what I'm good at. These are my responsibilities. But we never explore ourselves further. And what I have seen for emotional well being to become a daily, regular reality in our life, we have to sometimes go completely out of the comfort zone. Now, this kind of mass global getting out of the comfort zone was not something that any of us imagined. But the ones who have really thrived in the last 2 years, in spite of challenges, are the ones who found something to do, something to add meaning to their current day to day living, where they manage to tide over the crisis and build up their mental strength. So, before we wind off, tell me that one word that Ankurita stands for. Just one word. If I had to describe you in one word, what would you say?
In one word. Okay, awesome, Ankurita, I would say.
Sorry, I lost you.
So this, I said one word. I mean, I talk a lot, so describing anything in one word is the toughest thing for me. I said the easiest way out is, awesome, Ankurita. And the word awesome doesn't, it doesn't mean that I am awesome in all fronts. What I see awesome in me is that I see life as very beautiful. So
Mhm.
for me, awesome is life, and I resonate with life. So that's how I said awesome, Ankurita. It's not me who's awesome, but my life is awesome.
Fantastic. I love it. Awesome. Ankurita is where we wind up today because I love the approach that you have towards life. And thank you so much for sharing so many personal anecdotes. I'm sure all our viewers would love to hear you more. And we are definitely going to get back together again soon. Take care and have a lovely day.